Banjo Ben, your host here on the website to teach you how to play guitar and mandolin, but this week is Banjo Week. Now, depending on when you're watching this, whenever I recorded it, I have my my inaugural Banjo Ben camp coming up where I teach lots of students on banjo, guitar, and mandolin, and one of the songs that we're going to learn is Whiskey Before Breakfast. I already had pretty basic versions for guitar and mandolin, but I didn't for banjo. I had a really hard up-the-neck melodic version, so this one is a more learnable version, and I thought it's also an excellent time for us to do something in an alternate tuning, because I've never done that, not really, especially not D-tuning. So we're going to talk about D-tuning a little bit. We're going to talk about how to play it. We're going to talk about how to play this Whiskey Before Breakfast in D-tuning, and lots of other cool stuff. If you're watching here on the website as a GoPick member, you have everything you need right now. Just scroll down. You'll see the tabs, the MP3s, the rest of the video segments that you can click on. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or wherever else, come over to the site. I'd love to have you for this lesson and hundreds more. Let's jump right into Whiskey Before Breakfast in D-tuning. We ain't in Kansas anymore, folks. We're leaving the land of G-tuning and we're going into D-tuning, and there's actually a couple different things that you can be talking about if you're talking about D-tuning. It depends on what you do with your high fifth string, but let's get to that in just a moment. But I also want to say, if you're watching here on the website as a GoPick member, scroll down, and there beneath the jam tracks that you use to practice this song, I also have the different strings there that you can play the MP3 and tune your banjo to what mine is tuned to. Now, your bottom D string, your fourth string, is not going to change. That stays a D. And then your third string, your G note, we're going to tune that down from a G to an F sharp, so down and a half step. If you want to figure out how to match that, you match it on your fourth fret of your low D string. Okay? Now we're going to take our second string and tune it from a B note down a whole step to an A note. And you might have to tune yours a little bit flat if you're tuning with the tuner. I know I do mine just like you do whenever you're tuning open G tuning. Then we're going to leave our first string the same. And you may have to retune it because as you take the tension off your second and third strings, it's probably going to make your first string go a little sharp. So you may have to retune that. But we got these octaves. Then we have an F sharp and an A. Now when it comes to our fifth string, according to Mr. Scruggs' book, there's a couple different ways that we can do that. We can either tune to an F sharp, okay, or we can go up to an A. And for this particular arrangement of Whiskey Before Breakfast, it sounded better to spike up to an A. I'm not going to tune up to an A. You'll probably break your string. But I'm going to take that fifth string and I'm going to spike it or capo it up to the seventh fret to where it matches that there. Now, of course, your other option is to leave it as a G and tune down to an F sharp to where it matches this. And that might sound cool. So I could have left it like that, but I didn't like some of the really, really dissonant sounds that I was getting with it as an F sharp. So I'm going to go back up to a G, tune it up or spike it under the seventh. By the way, quick plug, if you buy a banjo from me, we put spikes in it for free. Cool, so now that we've got it tuned up, you can check that with a tuner or with the little MP3 tuning MP3s that I have down there. You're ready to go. And this is pretty cool, right? Because now whenever we strum it, we've got a D chord instead of a G chord. And we've got some really other cool harmonics. All right, so let's pull up the first line of tab there, and we're going to have a 4-bar kickoff. You might call these potatoes. This is what the mandolin and the fiddle often do. And I wanted to do something that might hearken to other songs that you might be familiar with that's played out of a D tuning. We're just going to do a forward roll here with the slide. Another one. And to get that really good grind, whenever I'm doing that slide from 2 to 3, I'm not just sliding straight. I'm going to push up a little bit with my middle finger. Okay, that's going to create a little bit of that bend sound. Then again, in measure 4, we're going to do a square roll and then a pull off. Now that's going to take a little while to get used to if you're just really used to playing out of G tuning, which most all of us are. You're not used to getting these sounds by putting your fingers right there. So it takes a little while of playing and detuning to kind of get over that mental block. Let me play this whole intro for you, this kickoff for you. We'll do the whole thing much slower later on if you're a Gold Pick member here on the site. Let's see. And we're going to walk down into the first A part. Now this is a typical fiddle tune, you're probably familiar with it, but we've got an A part that's 8 bars long. Then it's going to repeat that, it's like 2 A parts in a row. And the way that I'm going to do is I'm going to teach it the first time through, the first 8 bars, a fairly simple version, okay, with not many ornaments, not many fancy things. And then the second time through, we're going to add a few of those. If the second A part's a little too difficult, you can just repeat the first A part. You're good to go. And the same thing is true for the B parts as well. So we're going to start out pretty simple here. Now, for that third beat note, I've got it labeled as an index finger. You can also play it with your thumb. I'm going to try to play my thumb every chance that I get. But I wanted we're going to switch, I'm going to have it labeled as thumb later on. I just want you to be aware of that. Do a little forward reverse. Now here's the thing about the Whiskey Before Breakfast. If I can get used to it. We're not going to be able to hit every single one, or we could, of course. But if we're going to keep it simple, we're going to skip some of the melody notes that you're used to hearing a mandolin play. That's okay. We're still implying them and we're still hitting the main notes. Now this is interesting. When we get to measure 8, we're going to imagine taking your partial C chord that you're used to playing right here and just moving it up a string, both fingers. That's now your partial G chord. So we're going to, and back through. And then make an E minor, this is pretty cool, to make your A chord. So it's not like we're having to learn completely different chord shapes. We've got what we're used to doing here, just move to here, and then we're used to playing our E minor, right? And now that makes our A. So the whole line sounds like this. Pretty cool, huh? And then we're going to play some...